My name is Uli Kirchler. I was born and raised in the German-speaking part of Italy with a German name because I grew up, was part of Austria until of 1918. After the First World War and treaties, it was given to Italy. I traveled the world for many years and ended up in the United States, and that's where I started my work as an artist. I never had to apply for a job my entire life. In my 20s, I was a one-man band, a drum on my back, guitar, harmonica, and that allowed me to make money and be independent and explore this beautiful planet. I always desired to have children. I knew this lifestyle would end eventually. When I was in my 30s, I settled in Southern California. I had the opportunity to remodel a bathroom, first time in my life. So I did that. I started doing a patio, some fence, and realized that I had this ability to add some extra things to make things, a little bit different than just a straight 2x4 nail and hammer kind of work. I signed up for an adult education class, which was very excited. I got first time exposed to real hardwood, to real fine woodwork. I remember the most difficult part of it was I had 2 classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 6 to 10. And the wait from Thursday to Tuesday was an eternity. I was so eager to build. I was so full of ideas and, just wanted to do things, but didn't have my own shop yet. That was the start. I was able to build a little shop outdoors where the garbage cans were. Started building first small things and discovered flea markets and little art shows and attempted to do that and realized that there's a potential, for me to make it. I grabbed this opportunity and I never let go of it, and it's been the most amazing journey. I first started woodworking with surfaced lumber. So I would go to a store and all they would have is boards, and I would cut them and put them together as furniture piece. Joinery was a big part of my life, until one point a friend came by and gave me a piece of a trunk. And first I was a little bit overwhelmed because I didn't know how to deal, with the raw piece of lumber. So I, with his help, I got myself a chainsaw and started preparing my own pieces. And that's when I realized getting my own lumber, getting the tree, just the raw chunk of wood, would allow me to do so much more than if I go to the store to buy something already surfaced. In addition, I now would tune into chainsaws, to landscapers, to gardener. Whenever I would hear something being cut, I would hop on my bicycle, sit in the car and drive there, talk to people. And most of my wood, still to this day, I get through conversation. Trees have a lifespan, so they die. We have storms that bring trees down. Of course, I feel sorry for the tree and the people that adore their trees in their yards. Secretly, feel a little excitement knowing, okay, there's probably something for me to be able to work with. I am very proud of the fact that I get to use the entire tree. I use the trunk, the big branches, to sculpt, to shape, to make vases, to cut them in pieces, make sometimes furniture, to make wall art. The little cut-offs become the little pop-up castles, and I use branches to inlay pockets, holes, are really amazing opportunities. It was difficult initially for me to understand that part, but I take advantage of everything, and then I use the sawdust and glue to fill in around branches. So I use the tree, I use the twigs, I use the sawdust, really take advantage of everything. My pieces usually come to life. First, I get a burl, I get a piece of wood, and the first step is to study this chunk of wood, and I look at it, I turn it over. If it's a big burl, I walk all around it, I circle around it it's like a hawk, looking for the prey, and it's the first cut that always determines a lot. What's fascinating when you cut with a chainsaw, you're the first one to see what's inside. So you cut it, it opens up, and it's, just most of the time absolutely amazing, to see what the colors are, how the grain looks. And I absolutely get a kick out of every time, when I see that happen. I look at the piece, first, of course, I try to get the big pieces out of it, and I would first chainsaw a piece, bring it into the shop, and then next step is with a bandsaw, give it a shape. And then I do not have a lathe. I don't turn things, but I have sanders and grinders that I'm able to create the shape. So they're all pre-shaped, pre-sculpted. When I have the shape, I look at holes, cracks that then become my opportunities to fill. Inlay with, there's a lot of epoxy used, which is liquid plastic now. So I always make sure, I use real ingredients. I like the fact that I'm able to use eggshells from my hens, grains of rice. I grind up my broken frame of my lawn chair, aluminum, and inlay my lawn chair. Again, as I mentioned earlier, twigs. Twigs have a different look depending the way you cut them. I cross-cut them or I slice them. So again, I love the fact that I can eat my eggs and sell my eggshells and be, successful with that. So this is a piece of California buckeye. Buckeye, or I love using spalted wood. Spalting is the process of decay. So it's when the wood starts to go bad, But what first happens, fungus invades the wood and changes the color. So it's naturally blonde, but fungus adds all the darker parts with it. Use a scroll saw to cut all the little buildings, and with one little shake they pop. In this case, there were a few pockets, that are filled with Italian white marble. Anything that I inlay goes in a coffee grinder. If I can grind things, that means that I can sand it, because in the end, I'm treating wood and the stone in the same way. I have to sand it. Here was a pocket. I have a friend that works with geodes, so there's a geode that I embedded, added a little stone that I find hiking. There's a little red around it, which is brick. I like the brick because I saw some red, here, so I just wanted to, match it a little and pretend it's been there forever. These parts here are branches that I ripped, and then the dark part in between is sawdust. So just, inlaying it and pretending it's always been there. It's a very old technique. You cut something at an angle, it's a taper. So it's nothing that I invented, it's just something that a technique that I'm using and pushing a little bit beyond than whatever I have seen. And it started out with one tower, and the fascination just led me to turn them into cities and villages, because there are cutoffs that I'm using which only fit one tower, but obviously being in the business of making castles, I look at bigger pieces as well that allow me to create a whole landscape. Wood is very forgiving. If you make a mistake, you glue something on, you change the shape. Very often mistakes are the best things that happen to me, and I have to honestly say I don't even get upset anymore when I make a mistake, because I realize this is the opportunity to think and to create something different or even better. So mistakes always led me to better things. Beautiful burls. We think, we always hear exotic, and we think we got to cross the ocean to find it. Southeast Asia, Africa, South America. Exotic is so often right in our backyards, and look at this. For me, one of the most amazing or fascinating parts is to take off the bark and seeing what's underneath. All these little spikes, that's something that happens with many burls, and they grow in our backyards. I'm in the Portland area, all over the West Coast, or wherever you have trees, you can have a burl. Love the natural edge that comes with it. Most of my pieces, you view them from one side. I started to creating centerpieces, so I placed the buildings, facing both ways, so they can end up on the center of a table and, can be viewed from all sides. The other thing, when I first started making them, I didn't know how would they hold up in real life out in the world when I'm not there. It's been now 7 or 8 years. I'm not getting any pieces in return. I fixed less than a handful, and they really can be handled. I think, most of the art shows, I'm the only one where you can come in and slam the art, hands to your back and eyes only, does not apply to my art.